I'm not bringing it up because I do that.
Okay. I'm not sure what we're talking about, but sure.
I'll show you.
Okay, we good to go? Technically, I need someone to give me updates. Okay.
Some good eats.
Okay, we're gonna get started. For those who haven't yet noticed, I am again chairing the meeting. Brianna is not able to be.
Yes, Nathan.
We're gonna try. Starting off, then, can I have a motion to start? Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, we are now in the meeting. Starting off with executive branch reports. President Mahak.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Tuesday GBM. I know we're all so excited to be here. Woo! Yeah! Tuesday! Go Blue Jay Tuesday. So some quick updates. I have been working with Nathan and Grace on having or organizing the Student Orgs Town Hall. We're gonna have it on
March 2nd at 6 p.m.
March 2nd at 6 p.m. Thank you, Nathan. And then I also met with the WGMC to get started on the OIE and Student Conduct Town Hall, which is probably going to be the first week of April. We're still kind of figuring out logistics on that, but we'll probably be sending out emails. Additionally, I've started working on the private police town hall, which is probably going to be at the end of April. I'm going to be working with Obi and Kobe, wow, rhyming names, on that. And if you are interested in that, then please let me know. Other than that, I had a class presidents meeting last week, and I'm going to have a follow-up meeting with them next week to finalize their events.
Awesome. Next up, we normally have Vice President. She's not here. Does anyone want to give her updates? Okay, hearing nothing, we're going to go to Treasurer Karen, who is also not here. Any updates? Okay, Mac.
She has been putting the purchasing requests in for our tabling event, so that is kind of all. And she's been doing the finance SAC meetings.
Lovely, lovely. Then to Executive Secretary Elena.
I'm finally getting the full CNC, so that's great. And also sent out the email for chief interest, and I'm still working on the guidebook.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Next up, we have LHAC open input period. Do we have anyone for LHAC?
No.
Okay, moving on then. Class council reports. First, senior class council. Can anyone give an update for senior class council? Grace isn't here, and she's typically my go-to. Lovely. I'm going to give the update. So, we had our first 100th night event last week, which went really well. We a lot of different things happened. It ended up being like a scavenger hunt type thing, but people really loved it. And I guess my one fun fact I would share with everyone is we, just for kicks, I hit a clue at BWI because I had to be at BWI that day. That clue they got in 30 minutes. It took them 2.5 hours to get the SGA GBM one. So take with that what you will. But otherwise, it went really well, and we got a lot of great memories for the commencement video, so that was great. Moving on, then, we're going to go to Talia.
Yeah, so we finished up our Valentine's Day event yesterday. I'll be talking more about that later on in the GBM. And then we had interviews with potential new senators, and we decided we needed a second round of interviews to kind of create some consensus among the group. So we'll be doing that this week, and we should have a new senator for this GBM.
Beautiful. Moving on to sophomores. Kobe.
We are still planning our garden party. We are meeting with our contact at Gertrude's on Wednesday to finalize the menu. We sent out our invitations so people know about it now, and we're also looking into buying flowers.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then to freshmen, Ryan.
Let's see. Most events are still where they're at. We're considering now an on-campus venue for a big event, but other than that, everything should be roughly the same.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to committee reports. Veda for academic affairs.
Let's see. So we had a meeting with the Vice Deans today, and we talked about a couple focus groups that are going to be created this semester to try out some new things academically. So one's going to be Q2 and implementing that. The other is going to be course evaluations. So there's like a list of objectives that they want to pretty much try out over the next semester. So kind of see how that goes.
If you're interested in joining either of those, please let us know. We would love to have you.
What's Q2?
Q2 is a set of basically a guideline that like the school put out, basically being like, we want to format all of our academics to look like this. So some example of things in Q2 reports, like we want every student to be able to do a Hopkins semester, so take a semester off without doing anything for your major and like still being able to complete your major. Having flexibility for like a bunch of other things. So that guideline was published last year, I'm pretty sure. So Q2 is the group that's trying to implement all of that. So they want student perspectives to kind of integrate how we feel and how we should do all of these guidelines. So these focus groups are a really great way to like kind of get your opinion and get your like fellow students' opinions to admin correctly.
Yeah. And I know we've been talking about it for like the past couple GBMs, but now we have quite a bit more detail on what these focus groups are actually trying to accomplish and some of the projects they're trying to move forward. So if you are interested at all, please talk to either of us after GBM to fill you in.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful, thanks, Beta. Moving on to civic engagement, Kobe.
We are meeting with WIT at the CSC later this week on Saturday. And we are still working on our election day as a holiday. Right now we're benchmarking all the other schools and what they do for election day. Hopefully we can bring that here.
Awesome, thank you. Finance, Obi.
We've just been working on finishing up the guidelines as well as we finally closed the allocations. We let all the groups know that like it was going to be closed on Friday. And only like one other additional one submitted, so we just closed it and be done with like everything in allocation and how it's related by Wednesday.
Beautiful. Then going on to health, safety, and sustainability, Talia.
We talked about potential projects related to health and safety specifically because we did a lot of sustainability stuff last semester. So we're talking about partnering with the flock to do like a little sports game to promote like going outside and like campus building, community building kind of things, and then also talking about like things you can do in the safety area, like getting in touch with the campus security as well.
Beautiful, thank you. Internal affairs, G1.
We'll meet today.
Sounds good. Student orgs normally meet. Grace, can you take this?
Yeah, sure. Basically, we're pretty much done, or the committee is pretty much done with re-registrations. I think me and Nathan are going to take on to pretty much everything else just because we've spent a lot of time on that. What we've been pretty much doing from this point forward is figuring out what we want student organizations to look like going forward. And we may propose a couple of these ways of categorizing and how much a student organization needs our support based off of a couple of things, and we will be talking about that later on in this.
Sounds good, sounds good. Then moving on, student services, Jenny.
So we had a really productive Thursday meeting, and we covered a lot of topics. So like we really talked about things that we wanted to accomplish this semester, and a few things were like food planning, and like Dalhart had like a really good suggestion about like maybe transferring unused laundry credit to like cleaning, like to make it to so it's safe and proper cleaning. And we also discussed possibly like trying to do like a 3K journey, I think, again. And lastly, we also talked about how we can like utilize our social media better to promote like some of the services that like Hopkins already has. Because like a lot of Hopkins provides a lot of services, but a lot of students aren't aware of them. So like we're trying to like I guess like increase like awareness about those.
Beautiful, thank you, Jenny. Next up, we have caucus report. So Kobe with the APETA caucus.
So this is something that we will motion to add to the agenda later after this meeting, but we're going to hopefully, with all of your approval, become an ambassador org for 8 land reserves.
Awesome. Moving on to Black Caucus, Obi.
We had our first meeting on Sunday, and we had a lot that was discussed and a lot of plans. For one, we nominated a lot of our officers for positions, and then their vice chair, our vice chair that we wanted to nominate was not eligible to be confirmed, so that's not a thing. We also discussed the temporary pause on the police force expiring this upcoming summer. We discussed the fact that Hopkins is currently disposing of waste
an incinerator in a primarily black neighborhood in Baltimore. And we were proposing either switching to landfill or compost or something of that nature. We also discussed having a Black History Month calendar just so lines can be established between RSOs on campus. And then another thing was just the fact that the Black Student Union Room happens to be in AMR 1. So when there was no cross-building visiting, Black students were not able to gather in their own building, which was something I was unaware of. And we reached out to our advisors, and we are going to be following up with housing about that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Obi. Moving on to Disability Caucus. Harvey. Is Harvey here?
Not here, so I'll just say, we haven't met since our last meeting, but Harvey is working on getting a meeting with FCS together and hopefully we'll get some updates to their time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Elena. Next up, Women and Genders Minorities Caucus. Nikki.
WGMC had its first meeting of the semester yesterday, and we planned with OAE Town Hall that was previously mentioned, alongside smaller events like the pronoun pin event and a project dealing with OAE's informational material.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nikki. And now we're going to go on to advisory report. Carolyn.
Hey everyone. So first thing is when you are communicating with campus administrators as it relates to Student Government Association, your leaders need to know that. And by your leaders, I mean the SGA president and your advisor. So when you are communicating, again, with any campus administrators in your capacity as an SGA representative, copy Carolyn Harris and Mahek Ali. Moving forward, all the things. Some of this is just for acknowledgement. Doesn't mean we're going to show up to your meetings. Doesn't mean we're trying to take over. We really just want to make sure that we are in the know about what's going on with the Student Government Association. Leadership Award nominations are still open. We received a few, but again, I'd love for you all to nominate your peers, faculty or staff that you've worked with over the past year to acknowledge what they've done. There's lots of awards that are available for nomination, and by the way, many of the awards have a monetary attachment, and not a little bit of money, like thousands of dollars. So, you know, nominate your friends or yourself. Inauguration is on April 19th. If you have not already marked your calendars, you should do that. We will be celebrating the new administration of students, but also celebrating the successes of this administration, and we welcome you to be there. The Daniels event, did you get your report, right?
Oh yeah, but I didn't cover that yet.
Oh, that was later. Okay, I'll reach out to that. And then the last big thing is, within the next like 7 to 10 business days, I need for every SGA large-scale event to have a date and a concept about what's supposed to happen. I don't recall if I've heard anything from freshmen and juniors, but we need to know what your plan is for your traditions event this spring, because we're the 4th week of the semester, so it's gonna come by really fast. I have support for some of y'all, so I'll catch up with the presidents of those councils after the GD.
Beautiful. That it?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. Moving on then, we're going to go into new business. So first up, Talia, I think you have someone here to present.
Yes, the director from the Office of Sustainability, Julian Brasco, is here to present on the sustainability plan. I sent you guys a mural board in the group chat a few days ago, so if you guys want to offer feedback there, you can. Other than that,
hi everyone, just getting set up for a second. My name is Julian Bresco, and I am the Sustainability Director of the university. I work in the Office of Sustainability based on the Keswick building, which is off of the Homewood campus, right by Mom's in the sort of commercial district that's right over there. I moved here from Philadelphia in April of 2019, 1 year before the pandemic. I'm a native Philadelphian, still learning about Baltimore, and happy to be here today to talk to you a little bit about what our office does, and then more broadly about the Hopkins sustainability planning effort, and would love to just hear from you all about your thoughts and advisement on how to make this process as engaging and as impactful as possible. So I'm really going to try and minimize how much I'm talking and maximizing the conversation together, but caveat, this is the first in-person presentation I've done in like 2 years, so I'm super used to looking at a screen and presenting to people. It's been a while since I've actually had to like pivot my head around, so bear with me. So I probably don't have to tell any of you that sustainability and the climate crisis are enormously important topics that society is figuring out how to address at the local level, the national level, the international level. And for large anchor institutions like Johns Hopkins, we have a critical role to play in this. And so before any of you were students here, the university created a task force in 2009, which set an initial climate change mitigation target to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 51% from our initial baseline. We're on the precipice of meeting that through a really large renewable energy agreement that was announced around Earth Day of 2019. I'm not sure if how many of you are aware of it. I'd be happy to answer questions, but we're now at the stage where we're really building off of our last planning framework and into the future. So we kicked off a process this past fall to initiate a new sustainability plan for the university that will be a 2030 planning vision that will really get us through the next decade and touch on a myriad of issues, obviously around reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but really more broadly around some of the icons you see here on the right. We're working with an external consulting group who's a specialty green engineering firm who does sustainability planning, a lot in the higher education sector, but also in the municipal sector. They work with the city of Washington, D.C., for example, to help them develop their D.C. clean energy and sustainability plans. So we're really excited. We feel like there's a lot of transferable lessons we can learn at the local level. And where you see some of the technical scopes that are called out here in these sort of diagonal bars, these are areas where we're doing deeper analytic work around carbon reduction and decarbonization, assessing climate risks and adaptation strategies, and developing green building guidelines. And really through the engagement process is where we're going to figure out where all these other pieces of the sustainability paradigm fit into the Hopkins vision, what's going to make this a unique plan for us, and what our community and our community partners outside of the university really would like to see within this. So, talking about a plan can be kind of boring, to be honest with you, but it can also be really exciting and impactful. And so when trying to sort of bring this to life and make sure that this is an impactful strategy and plan for the university that's really a defining framework for us, we think about what is the vision, what are the specific goals we want to sort of address, and how are we going to measure those through targets, and then what are some of the strategies and more granular actions we might take. And so you see sort of called out here, we're in the process of just wrapping up a big feedback and vision phase to this project where we did a large survey to the university-wide community. I'll share some of the results with you. And really then using that to hone in on a vision statement for the plan, principles around certain areas of action, and using that to sort of provide the guardrails to really help us develop our own unique lines. As a student government association, I assume you often think about governance as a process. This framework is intended to be one that's adopted by the Board of Trustees in early 2023. We're working from left to right broadly with the Hopkins community through a variety of modalities, surveys, comment periods, town halls, and engagements like this, you name it. We have a variety of technical working groups, which include a handful of students. I think we have around 120 people on committees right now, about 25 of which are students. I know Talia sits, for example, on our steering committee, but if you go from left to right, we have a variety of technical working groups around emissions reduction, building guidelines, climate adaptation, food and dining, all issues I know you all care a lot about. We're also facilitating a series of workshops this spring that are really going to be topical opportunities for members of the Hopkins community to weigh in and really hear from people who maybe don't have time to sit on a committee but really care about an issue. Maybe they have subject matter expertise, maybe it's a passion, We're also going to be allowing some of our community partners to participate in that. And we're filtering all of this process through 3 advisory groups, one of which is a community advisory group, which includes local government representatives from Baltimore City, NGOs, community associations, another which is around business and operations and sort of the built environment, infrastructure and procurement, and a third which is faculty-based, and really looks to make sure that this plan is not just operational and infrastructural, but also touches on our teaching and research mission and the dichotomy of that piece. And I won't continue to bore you through all of the details here, but you can see it's really a university-wide process. I'm sure many of you think largely about the Homewood campus, but our office is tasked with overseeing sustainability across Homewood, East Baltimore, APL, Washington, D.C. So we have a really big mandate, and we're in some ways a startup in that we are a relatively newer group to the university who's been building off of prior work of those who came before us. We're really ramping up a lot of work at this moment. I think I'm going to skip a couple of these slides here. This is more of a summary of some of the stakeholder engagement, which I've already talked to you about. But I just want to reinforce for you some of what we heard from the Hopkins community through about the 1,000 responses we heard back through our survey process this past fall. So we asked people, what's a unique strength of Hopkins that you think can support a vision for sustainability? You see a lot of things you wouldn't be surprised by here, right? Our research influence, our monetary resources, our community impact, our reputation influence, our students, leadership, health, all things that I'm sure many of you are thinking about regularly. We also asked people to rank for us, what are the themes that have the potential to build upon Hopkins' unique strengths, so our identity and reputation in a sustainability plan. And we asked people to rank those. And equity, serving vulnerable communities and addressing issues of environmental justice, came in at the highest point, followed by partnering locally, obviously 2 which are very aligned, knowledge and aligning our teaching and research efforts with operational sustainability, and then health and global leadership. We also asked people, if you were to imagine a more sustainable Hopkins in 2030, what that would look like, and you'll see a lot of call-outs here around waste, emissions reduction. But if you really look closely at a lot of the pieces, you see community comes up a lot. And this really continues to be a driving theme. We hear from people is just the importance of local and regional collaboration, community impact, and partnership. And for the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving past this. And I really just want to touch on for you that I mentioned to you we're in the process of organizing a series of workshops this semester, which are going to be 7 of which are going to be open to the entire Hopkins community, as well as community partners, 4 which are going to be student specific. These are going to have 30 to 40 people in them each. We're working, like I said, with an external consultant who's bringing in some professional facilitators who really are experts, in group facilitation and dialogue. These are virtual workshops, so whereas that can be a little bit sometimes stifling for energy, we actually see more people engage and participate when we do things online than we do in person, especially as a university-wide group. It really allows us to bring graduate students in, students from different campuses. But you see a lot of topics here, and we use the survey to help really craft what the topics are that we wanted to hear from people on, and to really help us use these to help define goals that are going to become the cornerstone of the plan vision. So justice and equity, climate action, visioning for zero waste, built and natural environments, mobility and transportation, food and dining, student life and campus culture, and academic and research opportunities. And the 2 at the bottom on either side are sort of an opportunity at the end of the spring to see what's been emerging through the whole process and how that's going to inform the plan goals that are going to be further developed over the summer. So this is pretty much all I wanted to share with you. I'd really love to hear any questions you have, any feedback you have. For us, it would be wonderful. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for info coming up, and to be honest with you, it's super hard to reach people, right? There's no magic way to reach everyone. People respond best through their networks, and we would love to partner with you to get information out in whatever way you think is beneficial. We obviously are working with many internal communication professionals at the university. We're using our own, variety of mediums to reach people, but both the registration for workshops will be coming out next week. And there'll be about 2 weeks or so for people to sign up for those, and it's really important we want to get as many people as possible. We're also going to be doing a comment period on a vision statement and principles that's going to be open to the whole Hopkins community to comment on, and that'll be coming up in around the first week of March. So both of those are chances for your input and chances for you to leverage your role as leaders to share information with your networks, which we would love for you to do. So I'm going to stop and give you a chance to ask me anything you'd like to.
Beautiful, thank you. Can I have a motion then? Jackson.
Motion for a 10-minute Q&A with 1 minute speaking time.
I have a motion for a 10-minute Q&A with 1 minute speaking times. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, we're now in a 10-minute Q&A with 1 minute speaking times. Jackson, you're up first.
So the first thing I want to say is thank you so much for showing out here and giving a presentation for us. It really means a lot when it comes to seeing the administration willing to speak to us undergrads about what this is. The other question I was going to ask is, and I know this one's going to come up in any town hall or anything either, but I noticed that one of the words that showed up there, right between the really big ones, was divestment. What does that word mean to you when it comes to fighting climate crisis and taking money away from groups that generally are going to further? What does that mean to you?
What it means to me at a personal level and what it means to the university are suppose somewhat different questions. I see my role as an officer for the university to help listen to our community and convey information that can help inform the planning process. And so when we see trends and themes emerge in feedback like this, that is really critical, not to our office. I'm not saying that our professional opinion doesn't inform the planning. It absolutely does. But we kind of are listening at this moment. And so we see our role as to convey information back. I do personally see a gap in people's understanding of the existing divestment action the university has taken in the past and what they would like to see in the future. And I think there's the desire for action. I think there's anxiety. And I think there's a need to act boldly around a lot of issues right now. And certainly issues of endowment and investment should be on the table and open for conversation, and they are. And the university, you may know, has a formal process by which it considers issues like this. So it convenes a group through a mechanism called PIAC, which is an acronym I always mess up when I talk about it. So, these are issues which we care about a lot. I think there are a lot of things to tackle when we talk about sustainability. And being ambitious, is essential. And I think now's the time.
I yield the rest of my time.
Beautiful, thank you. Do we have anyone else? Kaya.
Thank you for speaking. I appreciate your presentation. I heard you spoke a lot about reducing carbon emissions throughout this plan. And I know that Hopkins sends thousands of trash to the incinerator every year. So are you considering converting to landfill instead? Because we see that these wastes, when you send them to the incinerator, is disproportionately affecting the Black community, as the Westport, the area of Westport is 90% Black / African American community. What is Hopkins doing to reduce that carbon emission that they're sending?
I really appreciate the question. So through our community advisory group, we have representatives from South Baltimore Community Land Trust, which is really the leading community group in the city, who's been really driving this issue and working with the city's Department of Public Works to help challenge incineration legislation and to help move anchor institutions forward and help create the infrastructure to allow for organic waste and other materials to be sent to local composting facilities. So a huge portion of the waste stream is waste. The Homewood campus has a very, has an aggressive composting program, which has been negatively impacted through supply chain issues that I won't get into right now. But they're very focused on removing food waste as much as possible from institutional waste streams in order to really drive down the volume of waste that's being sent to incineration. So these are issues we're actively involved in working with Hopkins professors, Hopkins students, local community members, city partners to talk about these issues. This is a citywide issue for all institutions to grapple with right now, as we see. So Hopkins and other institutions, from my perspective, and from what I've seen, I have not seen a life cycle analysis of what it would take to drive diesel trucks to a landfill through another community necessarily, and how that would compare to the negative air pollutants that are emitted through incineration in South Baltimore, right? And this is like kind of the question in some ways, which is what can we do to make sure that the negative impacts of our decisions don't disproportionately impact those in communities that have experienced environmental, disproportionate issues of environmental degradation for decades. So it's an issue we're actively working on through the planning process. We're having weekly emails about it right now, and the feedback has been good, and the partnership with local groups has been good. Ultimately, we need infrastructure to send our waste materials to a facility, and I don't think it's necessarily as black and white as sending it, to a landfill.
Obi?
Yeah, I spoke with our advisor earlier this weekend. He did mention that landfill was just as bad of an option as incinerator. So we were wondering what steps need to be taken, or how close you are in the process of just switching to compost as a whole.
We already compost aggressively through the Homewood campus. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I apologize. That's already been happening for years, and nothing will change in that regard. And we think about the hierarchy of waste reduction from source to disposal. Disposal being the last thing we should be doing. The first thing we should be doing is minimizing as much as possible from what we need to purchase. Then we should be using things as effectively as possible to really mitigate waste. So a good partnership with the dining program really looks like we create as little waste as possible and compost as little as possible. But you're right, and I touched on this a little bit before. I don't want to gloss over the complexities of comparing one thing versus another, because they're very complicated and it's not necessarily the same. So driving materials to a landfill with diesel trucks, a huge portion of the impact on the environmental justice issues are the emissions from the diesel vehicles as they drive through neighborhoods. It's not just operating one facility versus another, it's the entire life cycle of transporting materials as well and how that impacts communities.
I'm going to go to Raj next.
Hi, first of all, thank you for presenting. In your presentation, you talked about community, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that should be an important part of JHU's sustainability initiative. One thing I'm wondering is, are there any plans to use Hopkins' research and technology that we've been developing to maybe work with other outside institutions in the Baltimore area, or maybe work with other universities, or maybe work with the city town hall or city council on any citywide or community initiatives in terms of sustainability, and what that will look on collaborating with other people beyond that? I was wondering if that.
Thank you. It's a very good question. Global climate change is a global issue, but so much of the work that happens is local. And it's really important, we think, especially for really outsized anchor institutions like universities, not just Johns Hopkins, but universities all over the country, to really localize their planning efforts and align them regionally with the regional priorities of communities in which they're impacting. So Baltimore City created its own sustainability plan in 2019, rooted in community feedback. It's comprehensive. We have partners from the Baltimore City Office of Sustainability who are sitting on some of our committees, and our hope is that we're going to find some of the co-benefit alignment between what can we do that advances our own responsible stewardship practices on our campus, but also advances issues of community betterment, and aligns really regionally to make a stronger Baltimore. And that might sound good. I think it's actually pretty achievable. There's an enormous amount of overlap between the things we would already want to do. So it's really going out of our way to try and intentionally say, we want to do X, Y, Z things. What's the city doing in those spaces? How can we align those things, and how can we bring other actors into this space? And those are active conversations that we're having.
Kobe.
On the topic you talked about earlier about food insecurity, I don't know if you've seen, but there's a kind of campaign going around from Hopkins students about us donating our leftover $9 in investments. Is there a reason that can't take place on the University of Netherlands that are individual students?
No, and other universities do this, and I think it'd be great for you to gather feedback and share with administrators so they can consider that. I was on an email with a student this week who's running that survey, and I encouraged her to do just that. I think it'd be great. The key, I told her personally I didn't want our office to bias the feedback. We work with our dining partners. They're very interested in sustainability. As you probably know, building a self-operated dining program, it's a massive shift from an outsourced contract service. They're going to be, they've added a sustainability role to their organization and their org chart. We'll be hiring for that. We'll be supporting, helping recruit someone. So we see a lot of opportunity to work together throughout the life cycle again of minimizing as much waste as possible. But if we do have waste, thinking about how can we preserve it in order to support the food insecurity too. I think is a fantastic strategy.
Gotcha. Next up, we have Jiwon. We only have 22 seconds left, though. So if we want to also have a motion potentially to extend, I would look kindly on that.
And then the moderate caucus, after my time expires, I'd like to be on the list first on the moderate caucus.
That is a lot of stuff. Yes, Talia.
We can ask questions during the moderated caucus.
Correct. If you want to yield. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Q&A is now expired. So what are you motioning for?
And then more about with 1 minute.
1 minute speaking times. Okay, I have a motion for 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time. Seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're now in a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking times. Jiwon.
First, I agree that the incinerator is a big issue in Baltimore City. I also know that the landfill issue is not a solution to incinerator. Without incinerator, Baltimore landfill will be filled up within 2 years, 3 years, as I presume. So one of the things I have a big question about is what is considering the DH's impact on the environment, like what's the worst impact that is going to the environment? Is it the energy consumption that we're using, or is it the trash that we're creating, or the biogas that we're creating? Just wondering what that is.
I've worked in this field for the better part of 15 years. Economists can't figure this out, right? I mean, this is where you ask people what the social cost of carbon is for the externalized financial impacts of our greenhouse gas emissions on society. The world's best economists can't agree on it because the life cycle questions and impacts of some of these issues are so complicated to grapple with. This is what I'll tell you. I mean, we believe, based on the scientific information, that is like put before us, that reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating climate change is what society needs to rapidly be shifting to in the next several decades. It's the thing there's a lot we can be doing that's very actionable and quickly, but we can absolutely not lose sight of the tangible, tactile things and issues of waste and food, which are really important to bring people into the process. People really care about. And emissions and energy is invisible. We don't see it, even though we feel the weather impacts. So I do think it's emissions, but we in no way means we don't equally prioritize other issues just as much in our planning efforts.
Thank you. Now, we're going to move on to Obi. If you want back on the speakers list, though, Jiwon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just referring back to my previous question. I don't think I phrased it correctly or something, but basically what I was proposing was not just top-down season compost, but I'm just saying start with zero waste. So what are the oppositions to an actual compost facility? Because yes, compost can do compost, but to take it out to a landfill or incinerate it just further promotes gentrification that we are already such a huge part of. So I'm just saying it would save the money and fuel that it takes to keep trucks over the amount of businesses if we invest in the compost facility. What are the arguments against that?
There's no arguments from us. We've already talked to our organics materials hauler. We've had that person visit the site. That's how Baltimore Community Land Trust would like a facility to be established in, which would be in community partnership. And they've told us that if that facility were to be built, they could take it there for us. Right now, we bring our organic waste to Prince George's County through our composting effort. Our same hauler, who's based in South Baltimore, could easily bring our material to South Baltimore with less transportation and likely lower costs as a result. And we'd have literally no opposition to it. We'd do it tomorrow. The facility doesn't exist. So you need to incentivize, the city needs to examine the land, make sure it's safe to build something, and figure out, what remediation needs to occur, if any, and then a private entity, perhaps, unless through a civic RFP, would need to be sought out in order to build a facility.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jiwon, then we're going to go to Peter and then Suba.
So, where I grew up, I'm from Vancouver, and when you go to University of British Columbia, they have around 8 bins that you can throw the trash in. I do think it's quite excessive. I think it's too much. I don't even know what this is. I'm pretty just go to recycle. Right? Yeah, I can't do that. But a lot of times, sometimes when you buy food from the FFC or bring food outside from Starbucks, you don't really know where, if it goes to compost or recycle sometimes. Like I know that the plastic cups from the cafe should go to compost. Right, right, yeah. So I'm wondering if they could, you guys could have provide like basically this guide that goes on top of it. I know they just say like they put like a photo of the bottle, but I think if it's more relevant to what we use, I think it would be helpful. I think that's one suggestion.
We'd be happy to customize signage in partnership with any vendors around the university. That's no problem. I mean, recycling's like, in some ways, has been a trap for society. So feel good about throwing things into a bin and making them feel organized, right? I mean, it is ugly on the other side of that. I cannot emphasize to you enough that the best thing you can do is produce as little waste as possible. Buy durable goods that last. Buy secondhand products. I mean, finding the right bin. It's such a funny. I've seen like amazing political cartoons that characterize exactly what you're saying. It's like punishing people to figure out, but it also there's a lot of finger pointing and climate guilt around, and environmental guilt around how righteous can I be to dispose of things in the best way, right? These processes and systems are not set up in a way that was designed for consumers. So, we could talk about this for a really long time. But, I think you make really good points. I agree with you.
Next up, Peter.
Yeah, so just earlier you said that one of the problems about diesel trucks is that they run through communities and cause pollution. And as you know, we have an extensive transportation system with our buses running throughout the Baltimore city, also our Blue Jay shuttles. In previous conversations with the transportation department, with Greg Smith particularly, he did mention that the transportation department was looking to replace those vehicles with electric ones. Do you have more information on that, and when we could see this change take place? Like, would that be in the immediate near future, or would that still take some time to
vehicles in two phases, 50% in 2024, the other 50% in 2026, at which time our JHMI Homewood Peabody Shuttle will be operating on 100% electric vehicles. I'll tell you this too, these supply chain issues are significant, and so that's the contract, and we're really proud of it, and in some ways the answer to your question is we've done that. We've agreed to a contract, and we're moving forward with electrifying our fleet. I'm personally a little worried, to be honest with you, about the impacts of supply chain issues on a variety of things when it comes to renewable energy deployment, electric vehicle deployment. We're already seeing this with our renewable energy agreement, our solar agreement, which you may be familiar with, which has been delayed due to supply chain impacts. At a personal level, I've signed up for community solar in Maryland. I was assigned to a project that hasn't been able to be finished because of supply chain issues. This is the future is both a lot of opportunity for innovation, which is exciting, and people get to be a part of it. At the same time, the deployment and scaling of a lot of these solutions, there's going to be a lot of growing pains too. It's going to be an interesting time.
Next up, Suba.
Hi, thank you again. You did already point out kind of specific tangible things that Hopkins has done. Could you provide a few more examples of things that Hopkins is actively doing, started recently, or is going to do that kind of improve our sustainability in a sense, because a lot of the community and student body kind of has a negative view on how Hopkins is treating sustainability. So it would be nice to hear some more positive impact that we've been at least intending to do or are actively doing.
Sure. At the building level, you may know that the taking down the Mountain Building and getting ready to build a new Hopkins Student Center, we were able to divert and reuse a huge portion of the construction demolition waste coming out of that project. The new student center is intended to be a LEED Platinum building, so high performance, high sustainability driven building. One of the cool things about it from a design perspective is it's going to be our first building that utilizes mass timber structure. So in order to drive down the embedded emissions, the embedded greenhouse gas emissions from concrete, which is huge, in the construction process of the building, we're actually using more wood on the interior, which enhances connections to nature, biophilic design, feelings of wellness and connection to those things. In the 555 Penn building in DC, where we're renovating what was originally the museum, that building we're actually using CO2 injected concrete for the first time. So recapturing carbon emissions from the process, injecting it into the concrete that's being used in the structure. So this is just like a fingernail of the things that are happening that I think are really hard to communicate and share with people. But those are a couple examples of building projects.
Thank you. Next up, Kaya, and we've got 30 seconds left.
I just wanted to know, what are some partnerships that you have with this transition to compost? Are there any other Maryland campuses involved? I know this is a very large transition that you're making. So there's also working groups currently that support expanding the landfill. Are you trying to work with these working groups as well to get them on board with the composting facility that you want to create?
Our community partners have told us they would like Hopkins to sign on to a letter that expresses how much of our composting material we would be able to send to a local facility if it were built, through which they would use that and the expression of other institutions to present a business case for a company to actually build that facility. So we're actively discussing that now. We have a letter that we're going back and forth on from what their expectations are, what we could commit or what we produce as a university. We have no opposition to composting, and it wouldn't even be difficult to make this change. It just doesn't. The facility just doesn't exist right now. So I'm part of a consortium with other sustainability officers at other regional universities who are aware of the same issue. It's not just Hopkins that's considering this; other anchor institutions are as well. We and community advocates are actively talking about this exact issue on a weekly basis.
Beautiful, thank you. Our moderated caucus has now expired. I know we had one more person left on the speakers list, so we could have a motion to extend it just for that person. We could have other motions, just kind of whatever people are feeling.
Motion to extend it just for that person.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're now in a moderated caucus. We'll just extend it until Rachel is done. Can you yield to Rachel, Angela?
Yield to Rachel.
Thank you.
This is a necessary question for you, Julie. Thanks for being here. That was in regards to Gion's comment about sorting. The home of recycling is an aspect of Office of Sustainability is actually doing a sorting campaign this semester on how to, educating people on how to sort for recycling events. And I think they updated the signage in majority of the dining locations and also in on-campus housing on where things that come from our dining halls go. For FFC Nolan's and Rubbery, not so much Harmar since there are so many things there. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thanks, Rachel. Oh. Okay, yeah, Kaya, you got 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to put it out there. Is it possible if we could do a module for first years similar to the alcohol campaign that we had to complete online?
I'm totally familiar with what you're talking about. I have some experience working on projects like this. I feel like our office may have done something like this at some point, but my mind is a blur from the past 2 years and all the changes to how we engage people. So, can we follow up and talk about it?
Sure.
Cool.
Greenleaf actually talked about doing something like that, and then COVID happened. So it probably got lost.
I feel like I have a faint memory of this too.
Yeah.
I'd love to follow up with you about that.
Beautiful.
Can I
Thanks.
give a closing remark for myself?
Please do. Yes.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Your feedback matters to us enormously. I know there can feel like there are sometimes barriers between administrators and students. I love working with students. I would be happy to come back at any point. People don't bother us when they reach out to us, so if you have questions, you can always reach us. sustainability@jhu.edu. We have a small team of people who care deeply about these issues and really hope that through this planning effort and through some of the specific issues you brought up today, we can really work together in this year and into the future. So, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, moving right along. We now have actually Talia again giving the Valentine's Day, what was it? Junior class Valentine's Day event report.
Yes. Do I just talk about the event?
If you want to, you can also come up if you want to
We
present.
recommend coming up to present.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, you have 5 minutes to present.
Okay, yeah, basically, we had the event, it was February, can I sit somewhere?
Yeah.
We had the event, it was the 7th through the 13th that people could submit Valentine's Day messages. And then yesterday, we essentially the whole day, I was like sending out Valentine's Day grams, which was fun. We had 90 Valentine's Day grams sent out, which wasn't as much as we had gotten last year. And I kind of thought about like why that might be. And I think it was because we didn't have a whole email like solely dedicated to the event like we did last year. And then also because of in-person activities, it's just like people are less likely to want to do like a virtual event. Yeah, so going forward, we're gonna try and get these virtual events done. Yeah, what's up?
Is this a typo for 12 minutes?
What?
You're sorry, are we point of informationing?
Oh yeah, sure.
I think he's asking about the $12 under use of funds, if that's correct.
Is it correct that you use $12 for the price?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Oh, we found really cheap mugs on Barnes and Noble. So
Go on.
yeah.
You love it to know.
Yeah.
Okay, point of information's over, back to Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, basically, I think it went well. We had a good portion of people participate, and we're just hoping to get more engagement in our in-person events for this semester. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you, thank you. Any motions for this? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move right along to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, Talia. Next up, we have the President Daniels event discussion with Mahak, so take it away.
Hello, everyone. So it's been an annual tradition for SGA to have an event with President Daniels where we talk to him and Provost Kumar. So this year it's going to be a little different than previous years because we're trying to reshape like the narrative and the framework in which we like express ourselves to the president and the provost. So this year we're going to put an emphasis on like storytelling. So the way the event will kind of work is that we'll like start out by like coming, mingling, and then we'll have a short presentation on what SGA has accomplished this past year, and we're going to have like different people from SGA come and like tell their story about their experience here at Hopkins, but tied into the topic that we want to bring up to the president. So like if you want to bring up, I'll just do like a trivial matter, like obviously we wouldn't present this in front of the president, like dining, all right? So if like you're a Hopkins student, you could tell like a story about like how your dining experience was here at Hopkins, or just like your experience here, and then tie it into like a situation or an experience that you had with dining and how you kind of wish like the campus or like the environment could have changed your dining experience. So you guys see what I'm saying? So it's going to be more of like a storytelling thing. So we want it to feel more personal and more like anecdotal. So we can, obviously we're going to have like stats and everything. Like the topics we choose are going to be broader ones that like we all agree to or like want to talk and discuss. But we want this to be more of like a conversation than kind of like us stating facts and then them giving responses. So it'll be more of like a give and take type of event. And we're also rebranding it because we're not sure if we're going to be able to like have food at the event. So it's no longer going to be the President Daniels dinner. So we're going to call it the President Daniels event until further notice because we don't know yet. So just keep that in mind. So what we kind of wanted to do right now was kind of do like a round robin for everyone to kind of spit out some ideas about what they would like to talk about. And the reason I'm telling you guys right now that it's going to be more of like a storytelling type of event than us just like talking is so that when you frame like your ideas or like your topics that you want to talk about for the round robin, keep in mind that it's something that like you would have experienced or like your friend would have experienced. So you know what I mean? Like just keep that in mind when you're giving ideas because that's how it's going to be presented. Also, after we do have the round robin, I'll send into our Teams chat a campus Hopkins groups like form, and you can nominate yourself like if you want to, you can nominate yourself to be one of the speakers at the event. So it's just put your name, a topic that you would like to talk about, and then like an overview of like a story that you would like to share or like the experience. Like we want it to be more of like a speech monologue type of thing, like an overview of that and how it would be related to the topic and how you would want to present it. So it's going to be very personalized for like kind of the speakers that we decide to choose who end up presenting to President Daniels and Provost Kumar. So with that, I think a motion for a round robin would be very highly recommended.
The one thing I will say before we go there, just point of order, just a reminder that per the rules bill, if you have an electronic out, you should be using it for an approved reason, which is basically looking at legislation. So there should be no movies, there should be no gaming, none of that stuff. Anyway, do I have a motion? Thank you. Kobe.
Motion for a moderated caucus.
Of how long with how many speaking times?
16 minutes, 2 minutes.
So wait. So motion for moderated caucus, 16 minutes with 2 minute speaking times. Do I have a second to that motion? Okay, without a second, that motion is not happening. Do I have another motion? Motion for a round robin. I heard Dahlhart. Do I have a second for that? Okay, we have a second for the round robin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, any abstentions? We're now in roll call voting. We're going to start with the freshmen.
Can I preface this real quick by saying something?
You can point of information.
Point of information. We must have this discussion and have everyone's opinion because this is the one time we get to talk to the president like one-on-one. It's really, really important that everyone has a say on what we want to talk about. So even if you do not want to talk in a round robin, you can literally just be like, I second this person's whatever, because we just want to see, like, we just want to do kind of a straw poll type of vibe. You get what I mean? So like, if we hear a topic a lot, then that's what we would talk about during the thing. So if you don't have a chance, like if you're not like gonna be speaking in the moderated caucus, we won't have like a frame of like reference for what topics are more popular within like our Senate. You guys get it?
Okay, we are.
So,
Thank
keep
you,
that in
Mahat.
mind.
We are in roll call voting. Is that a point of information or point of order?
Point of information.
What's up?
What is the problem with a moderated caucus?
Okay, we're gonna go into roll call voting now. So starting with Ryan, Elena, are you good to take things down? Beautiful, thank you.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Then to Rachel.
What are you voting for?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Sophie?
Oh, nay.
Okay, the ayes have it. So we are going to get started with a round robin. We're gonna start then. Round robin, I believe, starts with just whoever motioned for it.
No, I just.
Okay, we'll start with Ryan and just go down. So basically, say what you want to say, then yield to the next person. We're just gonna kind of go down in a line.
Point of information, you're talking to the president, so think about things that are not super specific to you or your class council. Like if you have an issue with dining, the president probably is not the person to talk to about. All right, so like keep that in mind.
Point of information.
Yeah.
What topics have been discussed in the past?
It's a great point.
Because things will be changing.
That's a great point of information. So I'm trying to think certain ones.
Private police has been discussed.
Point of order. Come on.
Point of order, topics that have been discussed in the past have been like the private police force, OIE student conduct type stuff, the diversity and inclusion initiatives like underneath like, I don't know, his administration.
We said student center.
Oh yeah, student center was one thing. Like big, you get what I mean? Like big things. Yeah.
So like campus culture and messaging, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Is that your roll call? Or whatever we're calling this, round robin?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I'd say generally from feedback at different tabling events, I think one of the largest things, which I think we can tie to many smaller level things, would just be like general academic culture. I know we talked about this at the retreat, but I also think generally like counseling, as well as that might be kind of specific, I think it really could affect the student body and Hopkins academic culture.
Appreciate that. Nas.
I guess one feedback I've heard a lot from Muslim students specifically is accelerating the building of the mosque that is supposed to be built in like 2026, just so that it could be a available space for students on campus.
Gotcha. Jean.
One of the current problems is like for mental health, because like currently Hopkins does not have like a recruited like.
Speak up.
Sorry. Hopkins currently does not have like a recruited like
consultant or like for mental health, like they have to divert students to like outside providers, which is very inefficient and often like not respondent. So like no.
Jackson?
Kind of going on that topic, I feel like there needs to be a lot of discussion over disabled student concerns that have arisen in the newsletter, in ADA, in just a lot of different circles over the past year. And I just feel like President Daniels might have some answers for those.
Yeah,
I
Kaya.
think it would be great to bring back up the topic of the private police force because it's just very unnecessary to me, and I think if we have a discussion with him one-on-one, he would be more like, I wouldn't say opposed, but more questioning the reason behind it.
John?
I wanted to second what Jackson said. I think we should advocate for disabled students and bring more awareness to it.
Okay, we're going to circle around this way, so Raj.
I would say I would appreciate if there was a greater shift in how administration and SGA work together. I think that to create a more permanent solution for us to work together, there has to be more opportunities for us to interact with them and see each other. What happened today where we had an administrator come in and present and ask for our feedback, I really appreciated things like that. In our academic affairs, we always try to meet with the deans and work with them on issues. I think there should be more of that. I think there should be more room for students to be involved with administrators and see eye to eye instead of from a position of power.
And conversations like these with round robins are great ways to do them. Shalala.
I'd like to see more support for disabled students, as we said, like abolition of the private police force, and like I think we talked about this last semester, but having like enforced like the state inclusion for admin and staff, and not just students.
That's a good one.
Jenny.
So I guess two things, like first, like as the like Jen said, I've like received a lot of things from students who have been like trying to utilize like their counseling center, and basically how like the really bad experience are like really bad experience are like.
Point of order, can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. Okay, so should I just start over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like two things. Like first, I like second what Jean said about like improving like mental health like resources at Hopkins, because like I've received a lot of like complaints from students that have been like going like trying to utilize like the resources that Hopkins provides, but like they either had really bad experiences or like they just or like they've been turned off by like other people like talking about their experience at the counseling center. And then like second, wait, I had something I'll tell you again. Okay.
We'll move on to Rachel, and anyone can yield to Jenny when she thinks of it. Rachel.
I guess security on and around campus, especially with the armed robberies and carjackings, and I guess if the private police force is the best way to go about improving security, and if there's like alternatives to improving security and getting less carjackings and armed robberies, I guess.
Gotcha. Kobe.
Second, to show all the mandatory diversity and inclusion training for professors on all topics.
Beautiful. Ireland.
So this is kind of different from what everybody else has been saying, but I noticed last year we all got very heated about the class of 2026's housing policy for married roommates, and we stopped talking about that completely. And I would really like to talk about how that is wrong, and also how it disproportionately affects LGBTQ, disabled,
Wait,
and students of color.
Point of, is it information or?
Point of information.
Okay, I'm on the Community Living Advisory Board, and they speak directly to the students who put down if they like identify a specific way, and as students that go through the SDS, they get first pick and they still get to choose their roommates. It's the students that don't identify like a specific way or go through SDS.
I think this is probably going to be part of a larger conversation because I know these considerations have happened. We can probably have this at probably some other point. I'm going to go then to Ireland. Are you done?
Yeah.
Yours? Okay. I'm going to go then to Grace.
I think something we could talk about is just greater oversight over professors and during like the no homework days or like the days that we were supposed to get off and people just assign things and all we could do was recommend they do something, you employ them. You should have more oversight, and I think that's something that needs to be.
Gotcha, Angela.
I second what Shalala said.
Shalala. Is that Nikki? Yeah, Nikki.
I also second what Kai and Shalala were talking about with the private police force, but I also would want to continue talking about like the experience of survivors of sexual assault and their experience with like off-campus resources as well, because there's not really a direct way to access them at like night or things like that.
Suba.
I support everything that's been said already, and I wanted to add the conversation about like a break during the fall semester was never addressed and never reached a conclusion, and it's kind of being really pushed in the back burner. So bringing that up and really addressing the issue of the academic calendar.
Veda.
Deepening our connection to Baltimore, I would say that our relationship with the rest of the city is an integral part of our experience here at Hopkins. And I think for some of us, it would be great if we could look at ways to deepen both like our casual encounters with the greater community, but also like professional. Yeah.
Thanks. Prithika.
Yeah, I really like what's been said. I think I would want to second the disability advocacy, mental health, what Veda just said about the Baltimore community, and then also some issues about security.
Obi.
Mine would just be like a permanent shift in transportation culture at Hopkins. Like most universities, you're able to like give a parking pass or like some sort of sticker for students. Like it's just very strange how Hopkins is kind of assumes that no one drives here. Even the way they charge like staff or like for parking, like a lot of staff I've heard have to like park like blocks over and find free parking, things of that nature. And they like to bring up the fact that like, oh, it's space, but like Garland is just sitting there, like trying to think for like parking. They're like, I'm sorry. It was good, but like,
Garland is really all
Amazing.
Oh. I see what you mean.
But the Blue Joyride, it was like nice, like things like that are nice, but I think we do need more like permanent measures. Like a lot of students do things that are like not easy to get to from like what do you call it? Public transport. Like I have a lot of friends in HCC that work at the like East Baltimore campus, and they have to take like 3 buses. Everyone who's in EMT has to like drive far away. Like, and also just protection and legal advice for students when they do run into issues such as like parking fines or like car accidents, like no one ever knows, or like running out of gas, like there's a lot of things that have to do with just not being in homeland. It's very hard to
Yeah. Italia.
I would second Jean's point about mental health, the services that the counseling center does offer. I just feel like it's a lot to go to like an outside person, and I feel like Hopkins should like just like I don't know, like have more staff at the counseling center so that people could get more appointments. Right now they only do bi-weekly. Yeah, and then I would also second bringing up the private police force. I think it's especially important that President Daniels, other admin know that like our freshmen are like very passionate about this issue and that it's not going to go away and that we're going to, like people are going to continue to like have discussions and conversations about it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jiwan.
Okay, so first, diversity and faculty training, great issue, great topic, would approve. And 2, I really like Rad's idea. To your point, I think we do need more connection between the administrators and the SGA. Also, I feel like a lot of times we bring an issue, we tell them, and they kind of forget, and then we forget, and it's gone. Like if you just look at the GBM notes, there's a lot of great issues that we brought up. We probably definitely contacted the admin, and then we just like forget, right? I feel like there's a way to mediate that. And the private police, I think, one, I do think there is a huge issue between like the security of nearby, like in Charles Village. That's pretty bad. Like again, also as an Asian, I got called and got that threats on the street multiple times, and I do not know if that I don't know if the private police is the best way to go, but I do believe the security around Hawkins needs to improve, and it needs to happen. And go on. I like it.
Next up, Sophie.
Point of information.
Point of information, Gobi.
On the admin and Shape for Getting Things, that's something we're working on civic engagement, like a letter document of our advocacy efforts, so that people can keep up after being done.
Awesome. Sophie.
Yeah, I second everything Iwan said and Cody said, and especially like I want to point out about the just about like transportation, because for me personally, like I have to like I feel like if I have to go somewhere, it's like usually around Midtown area of like Baltimore County, so like that's kind of far, and then I would just take like public bus. Yeah, it's usually, it takes a really long time to get there, so like if there's more like funding for somehow for like Jimmy to go to like more further areas.
China.
Yeah, so I'd like to first start off by like seconding what Veda said in terms of really deepening the relationship with Baltimore. I think going to the Baltimore College Town SGA retreat really made me realize how much of a community of networks of schools that we actually have around us, and that we should actually leverage those connections. I was trying to set up some kind of exchange between SGA members prior to COVID, but then because of COVID that never happened. But then I think that the school can definitely make more of an effort to help students really get engaged with the community, specifically perhaps, for example, through seconding like what Lee said and what Sophie said, such as like having these jimmies or having more transportation that extends to locations that are just beyond within our like inner circle. But my personal spin on this is that I think that we should really place more of an emphasis as well on trying to promote these kind of opportunities to international students. Because personally, being an international student myself, I've witnessed, a lot of these international students, they kind of like form their own cliques. And as a result, they often don't really hear about a lot of the opportunities that are being promoted on campus and aren't really able to really, adjust to the culture. And that's a big problem because, if you're coming all the way to Johns Hopkins to study, right, in the US, it's not like, you're taking online school from your home, especially I think for a lot of international schools, international students who are actually studying, online abroad, for them coming into Hopkins and especially adjusting is very difficult. And so I think that, there should definitely be more of a deeper connection with Baltimore, and especially a push for internationals.
Peter.
A very inspirational speech by China right there. So he's not wrong. I remember coming into International Student Day orientation. The first thing I told her coming in here to do cutthroat competition. I don't think that's exactly the welcome in which students abroad are looking for. And on that note, when it comes to supporting international students, I was thinking about maybe having more financial aid opportunities, more scholarship opportunities provided by the school to offer international students. It would be great because I remember in my Thrive and Thrive class, we were showcasing different resources that Hopkins had to offer. And Arrive and Thrive was a great class. But when it came to like the financial aid side, I asked, are there any financial aid or support for international students? The answer I got was, great question, I'm not sure. And the eventual answer was not really. So if we could definitely work towards something like that, make our school more inclusive, more international, and truly embrace our value of diversity, I think that would be great and what really makes Hopkins stand out with other top schools, because I don't think the other schools I think they have a lot more support to international students than us. In terms of parking, we could definitely work on something like a parking pass that Obi just mentioned. Very much agree with that. Because if you look behind school at San Martin Drive, all those parking garages there, I had the chance to visit them Saturday night. That's not a peak hour, but they were really empty. So like the building's just there, the parking spaces are there. If students are allowed to come in and park there, it would be great. In terms of private police, I know it's very controversial, but I think from an international student perspective that don't know about what's going on in American civil society and about the dynamics of seeing a cop as someone that's a potential violator of your freedom, It's a different perspective, and we do see private police as something that would ensure our safety more. I guess it's just a difference in culture, because people in China or people like in Canada, at least in my experience, when I see a cop, I don't feel like I'm gonna get violated or being prosecuted or something like that. I feel very much safe seeing them as they're like someone that will protect me. So it's just a personal view.
Gotcha. Okay, our round robin has reached its conclusion. Do I have any additional motions?
Motion for a 2-minute moderated caucus, 30 seconds speak time, if anyone wants to add any.
Okay, I have a motion for a 2-minute moderated caucus with 30-second speaking times. That was a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? We are now in a 2-minute moderated caucus, 30-second speaking time. Suba has the floor.
I got nothing to say.
Okay. Yield to Obi.
Touching on the private police force, credits to Calvin for shedding some light on this the other day. It was mentioned that for us to even try to pause or another extension on the private police force wouldn't really happen in an election year. I wouldn't say it's hopeless or anything, but I do think we should try to work towards figuring out ways to make it a weaponless police force. We're just trying to make sure we get something out of it since we can't panic.
Gotcha. Ryan.
I especially agree with the points about admin, SGA, and student body communication, plus the thing we were talking about the dropping initiatives, mentioning them and then they eventually fade out. Because I think that area is more or less the foundation of every other initiative we bring up with admin. If that's something we can figure out, it should streamline a lot of the things we do.
G1? Okay, Delhart, and then Jenny.
I particularly resonated with what we said about oversight of professors, because I really think that issue will branch over a lot of the other things we talked about, student disability services, support for international students, just a plethora of different things that I think it could affect, given just a lot of issues that we've had with, international students having different time zones and, assigning stuff on days off.
Okay, Jenny.
So the thing that I was forgetting was what Dana said about integrating Hawkins. About integrating Hawkins with the broader Baltimore community, because I feel like Hawkins did try to implement classes Baltimore 101, but those are things that are only available to freshmen, and not even a lot of freshmen take those classes, and then sophomores or juniors or seniors can't really take them. So I think should be more just offer more opportunities.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, the moderated caucus has now expired. Do I have any additional motions? We had a couple people who were looking to speak. Okay, we have a motion for a 1-minute extension. That was seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're now in a 1-minute extension, which technically, Jiwon, you have the floor. Do you want to yield to Shalala?
I do want to say one thing that if you aren't aware, Q2 is essentially designed for Hopkins to be more connected to the Baltimore community and also give more flexibility to expressions. If you want to look into the hospitals, if you want to look into different aspects of Baltimore, that's the point of it. So if you're interested in that, I think that's something that I would be really interested in see how they actually.
Okay, Shalala.
I just wanted to bring back Ireland's point. I really think we should have a discussion about it because I went to the meeting they had for it and it was only an hour. So we really didn't only get to discuss the random housing policy. So I think if we could maybe have an admin here and talk to housing about it further and then what our peers actually think about it, I think that would be a really good discussion.
Okay, time has technically now expired. I know there was one more person. Okay. Yeah, Kobe.
How long is this event going to be?
Oh, sorry. It will be, we've already got a date and everything. It's going to be on April 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. So mark it in your calendar.
Is it mandatory?
Yes.
Wait, what time?
April 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. Is that Wednesday?
That's a Thursday.
That works, okay.
But yes, it is mandatory. It is a GPM attendance. April 14th.
April 14th.
Oh, April.
Is that a Thursday?
Yes.
So do we not have GBM that day or that week?
No, we do.
Still do?
Yeah, we still do. Apologies, guys.
Okay, Jiwon. Say again? What?
We don't know, point of information, we don't know if there's gonna be food yet because the university changes its policy regarding food like every other week, so we can't plan that far ahead.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, any other motions?
Motion to move on.
Okay, we don't technically need a motion for that. We're just gonna move on. Next. Wait, sorry, we have a.
Isn't Kobe supposed to motion for the AP?
Oh, yeah, weren't you motioning
Weren't
for
you
a.
motioning for the APD? No, closed session we're gonna end.
Motion to add an item to the agenda.
Okay, I've motioned to add an item to the agenda. Wait, what's the item that we are adding to the agenda?
To approve the PETA caucus as an ambassador org for APIA vote.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
It has not been confirmed, so motion to release it.
Oh.
It's not been confirmed by whom?
Finance committee. It has not been approved by finance.
That doesn't, it's not a bill or a resolution, and so it doesn't have to go through a committee.
It's something different.
Oh.
It's not the, we're not talking about that.
So just, yeah, point of order, it doesn't need to go through a committee. Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
Can I add?
Okay, thank you, okay.
Can I just add a recess for a separate bill?
Wait, so, okay, so,
We're still.
okay, yes, we have the motion to add. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, I have a second. All in favor of adding this to the agenda?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we are now looking at adding, here, Kobe, just say what you're adding.
So, this is, I dropped it right there, but this is a program, I don't know if you, the freshmen don't know, but Ananya from last year is a part of this program, but it's just a Asian Pacific and Islander voting organization, and we're seeking to make the APITA caucus here in SGA to become an ambassador organization. We're past the deadline, but we got an extension.
Okay, so what are we considering, Kobe?
We want your approval for us to become an ambassador program with Asian and Pacific Islanders American.
Gotcha. Do I have any motions?
Motion to vote.
I had G1 first. Okay. Motion. I have a motion to vote. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Point of information.
Yes.
Y'all are about to vote on something that nobody has asked a question about.
Point of information.
Hold up, she's going.
What Kobe is asking, which there doesn't seem to be much, thanks for sharing what you did, Kobe. Kobe is trying to sign on behalf of Johns Hopkins University for this program. Does that mean that everybody read this website? Does that mean that everybody knows what it entails to be a part of this program? Y'all are yaying and naying on stuff about whether or not you want to have a moderated caucus versus a round robin, but you're not asking questions about what Johns Hopkins University Student Government Association is signing on to. Think about what you're doing. I know it's late, but y'all have a responsibility to understand what you are signing yourselves up to do.
Okay.
I know APIA votes. I know it's a good thing, but nobody here has asked a question, and y'all are about to vote on it.
Remind
I
me.
don't think that's what y'all should be.
I'm going to point of order myself. Where was I in the whole process?
For what?
Did we have a second, or were we voting on?
You were about to vote.
We were about to vote on voting procedure?
Huh?
On voting procedure?
Yeah.
To confirm?
everybody
Okay.
was to vote.
So we are now voting on whether to go into voting procedure on this. So all in favor say aye.
Sorry, I just have a point of order.
Point of order, okay, you go.
Do we need to vote on this if this is like a caucus that is making a decision?
Yeah, so it has been discussed and this is something we would have to vote on.
Okay.
Okay, so I have some ayes, do I have some nays?
Nay.
Okay, any abstentions? We're now in roll call vote. Okay, I have one abstention. We're now in roll call voting. We'll start with Ryan.
No.
Nay?
Okay.
Nay.
Point of order, just speak a little bit louder so Elena can hear.
Abstain.
Okay.
Nay.
Abstain.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
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 Okay, the nays have it. So do I have any other motions? Jackson.
Motion to move into a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time.
10-minute moderated caucus with 4 minute speaking times?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. All in favor, or wait, do I have a second to that? Okay, all in favor of a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking times, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? We are now in a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking times. Jackson has the floor.
I yield my time to.
I can do it.
Okay, we're gonna go with Peter, then we'll go down the line, we'll go to Mahak.
Could you just outline more the nature of this program? Is it like Hopkins Democrats or Hopkins Votes kind of really encourage the PETA community on our campus to pop out there and vote more, or is there any other kind of political value like thing that we should know about? Like, is it like a conservative movement or is it a liberal movement, something like that? That we should be noticing about.
Point of order, if you want to yield your time to Kobe. Okay, you have 23 seconds.
Yeah, so it is a bipartisan movement. It is kind of similar in goals to Hopkins Votes, but it's specifically towards the PETA community, since there is lesser rates of voting. Also, more programs dedicated towards the PETA community, like speakers and etc.
Beautiful, thank you, Kobe. China.
Yeah, can I ask a bit more about the ambassadors, like how the ambassadors are going to be selected, and also what are the roles and responsibilities of the ambassadors, and what are the qualifications needed?
So it's not specific ambassadors, it's an ambassador org. So we're housing it under the PETA caucus, which if you'd like to be a part of, please sign up for. So our kind of goal is with this program is to increase civic engagement amongst the PETA community.
Next up, G1.
Is there a need to go through SGA? Can this be done by an individual or a certain organization without going through the SGA approvals? Just like how China did his the marriage tag, it doesn't have to go through the SGA, right?
So is this directed at someone?
Kobe.
Yes, so technically we don't need to do it because it's as long as I believe 2 or more students, but I felt that it aligns with our goals and it would be better housed under us with our able to support the program.
Okay, next up I have Prithika. Oh wait, sorry, Dalhart.
I'm just curious, what exactly does this program entail generally? Like, is there any type of requirement like that we would need to like commit to as like an organization that would be held up by this? And like, I don't know, like generally, like what exactly are the benefits of being a partner of the organization?
Kobe.
So there are no hard commitments, but it is. But it is focused. We're supposed to hold events and attempt to raise. So okay, so basically coordinate. I just got back on it. Okay, here. So we're coordinating and engaging voter registration and civic engagement programming targeted towards Asians on campus. So the requirements are just like communicating events with our coordinator, who will be Ananya, bi-weekly call with the coordinator.
3, 2, 1.
And also the
Thanks. Prithika next.
I have a couple of questions. First off, it says that they give you funding, so how much is that? And then second, what other colleges have signed on Field Code?
So funding-wise, I'm not specifically sure, but other colleges, they have a map of all the colleges. Johns Hopkins was an organization for them back in 2017, I believe. But I will find the map of colleges that are organizations.
Okay, next up we have Mahak.
Did they extend the deadline specifically just for us to apply?
Yes, because our coordinator is an she.
Oh, okay, so they, okay.
Okay, next up we have from my list Ryan.
So I'm not sure what happened like between 2017 and now, but in the off chance that we need to withdraw, is that something that we are able to do?
I do not know for sure, but I do not see any reason why they would require us.
Okay, next up we have Shaw.
I just had a quick question. So since apparently they give you funding, so that would you would use their funding first and then like SGA funding if you needed to use that for events, or you just use it for events?
Yeah, we probably use it.
Okay. Just point of order, reminder to yield to whoever you want to respond.
Kind
Kaya.
of information I sent, this is 2017, the campus maps. and the teach.
Thank you. Okay.
Just to confirm, caucuses, they don't get any funding.
So point of information, so technically it's not part of the Monterey Caucus. Caucuses do not get an allocation, correct?
Yeah, they're supposed to take from us.
Do I have anyone else who wants to get in the Monterey Caucus? Rachel.
Similar organizations.
Will you, Jacoby? Thanks.
So specifically, it was because SGA alum and then Pawlowski, who's from last year, recommended it to us, and we decided I decided that this was an organization we should look into since it is a reputable organization that kind of supports the goals of the company.
Gotcha. Any other people who want to speak? Going once, going twice. Okay, the moderated caucus has ended then. Do I have any additional motions? Motion to vote. Okay, I have a motion to vote. That was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we are now voting on whether, Kobe, can you give me the specific language correctly? Point of order.
The Appeal Caucus will become an ambassador organization for APIA.
That. So we're going to become an ambassador organization for APIA votes. All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Any abstentions? Beautiful. Okay, we have approved that. Okay. Next up we have Kobe.
Motion to go into a 2-minute recess.
Motion to go into a 2-minute recess.
Nay.
Do I have a second? There was a second to that. All in favor of going into a 2-minute recess, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? I don't, okay. So I have abstentions technically, so we're going to go through the roll call. So starting with Ryan.
Point of information.
Sorry, okay. I had many points, first ones from back there. Who said what? Point of information, you said? Okay, Ryan, point of information.
Point of information, so this would be to discuss for finance to discuss a bill that, so today would basically be the last day that we could do it for the first year, February 22nd event. So this would be the last chance that we could.
We'll try to do it as fast as possible.
Okay, so I have a second on that, but we're going to go into roll call because we already voted on it. So starting with Ryan. So no, we're already going into roll call, so we're starting with Ryan.
Aye.
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 Point of information, what are we voting for again?
We're voting for whether to go into a 2-minute recess.
Okay.
Aye.
Obi?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. We're going into a 2-minute recess. Everyone be back here at 8:40.
Good job, Nathan.
What's going on?
There's something wrong. It isn't dramatic.
There's so many things happening right now.
No, I don't think we've ever had this much on our agenda in our lives.
Dude, I have homework, bro. I gotta sleep.
Elena, can you turn this off? Well,
Are we
we're
live or just recording?
no, it's just recording, so we can cut it too.
Do we cut them?
Yeah, Lena has. You can cut the video, right? Or does it have to be off?
I don't think it has to be off during the recess, but
I know.
it's not a breakout session, but it'll work. This is OBS Studio.
It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has.
Guys, it's been 2 minutes. Finance, have you voted? It's been 2 minutes or done. Okay.
This is throwback to what it used to be. Oh, I missed that. Oh my god, look at this beautiful thing. Guys, we have passed 2 minutes. Everyone please take your seats. Kaya, Jiwon, Shalala, Chinat.
Are you guys done?
Hello. No, there's not a minute left.
There's no minute left.
There is 0 minutes left. We good to go? Point of order, everyone, please take your seats.
Brianna had to gavel.
Okay, we're now back in session, whether people are in their seats or not. Do I have a motion?
Motion to start. Second.
Okay, we don't need. Okay, all in favor of starting? Any opposed? Okay. Now, do I have any additional motions?
Motion to add an item to the agenda.
Seconded.
Okay, I have a motion to add an item to the agenda. What's the item we are adding to the agenda?
We are adding the FCC Tuesday event funding that apparently all class councils agreed to help the freshman class council run. It's supposed to be a Tuesday event.
Well, now you are.
I mean, the presidents. This is
Okay, point of order. The only person that should be speaking right now is Obi. Thank you. Obi.
And apparently it's supposed to be trivia and fun since Tuesday 2/22 is like a really fun theme. They want to build community on campus, on the quad, play games and things of that nature. The initial, I can link this, hold on.
Thank you.
The initial well, I can't add it yet, but you guys can click that. The initial proposed thing was 1,500. I'm trying to convince you guys to add it. The initial, whatever, I motioned it.
Seconded.
All in favor of adding this item to the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this item is now on the agenda. Who's the introducer? Ryan, you have 5 minutes to present.
Yeah, I think we're gonna, I think finance amended it to 425. With the, so there's a comment in the site that shows the edited address, so disregard what's in the table. It's basically an extension for the Tuesday event. We're opening it to all classes because we're going to be in a heavily, space with heavy traffic. Yeah. And y'all know what the event is about. It's basically we're celebrating February 22nd. Yeah. That's all.
Okay, point of order. Can I just have the amendments that pass through committee added to the actual document that we are going to be voting on? And I can hold for a second if we just will do that. While that is happening, do I have any motions? I have a motion from Suba.
I don't really know what this is, but I couldn't really hear what Ron was saying, so you could repeat it.
Okay.
You're
good.
Okay, yeah, it's a expansion. Like we're asking for more money to open up our Tuesday event to all 4 classes.
And it's
basically.
trivia and games.
Yes, basically.
Okay, okay, do I have any motions? And has, point of order, first of all, Obi, has the document been updated?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Motions?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to vote in a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The bill passes unanimously.
Elena, point of order.
Point of order, hold up. Oh, thank you, that's me. Okay, we are now in voting procedure. All in favor of this bill, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Now the bill has passed. Okay. Okay, I hear a motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
What? Okay. We're doing it, actually.
We're doing it?
Just point of order. Okay. We now have a roll call. We'll just start with Ryan. Skip Ryan.
Just everyone say
Aye.
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 Nay. Nay.
Aye.
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 Okay. We are now in closed session. If everyone can close your laptops. Elena's going to need to shut off the live stream. We're not in closed session until then. Anyone who is... It's not.
I'm going to target them.
It's not. Getting back into it, the next item on our agenda is prospective business. Does anyone have any advancing legislation or announcements? Hearing nothing, we are going to go into SGA's Best Dressed competition. Do I have any nominations? Okay, I have Nas.
I nominate Jackson.
Okay, Jackson's nominated. Do you accept your nomination?
I do.
Show off. There we go. Jenny.
I nominate Shalala.
Shalala. Do you accept your nomination? Awesome. Obi.
I nominate China.
China has been nominated. Do you accept your nomination? Do you accept your nomination?
Yes, I do accept.
Awesome. Thank you. Jiwon.
nominate Talia.
Nominates Talia. Do you accept your nomination?
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other nominations? Kaya.
I nominate Obi.
Obi.
Okay, Obi.
Do you accept your nomination? Okay.
It's a cute fit.
Any other nominations? Okay, hearing no more nominations.
Did anyone write these nominations down?
I think I got him. So, sorry, just to recap here, I have Jackson, China, Shalala, and Talia. Correct? Anyone else I missed? Okay, awesome. So everyone put your heads down. We're going to do the whole anonymous voting thing. Okay, so first up, Jackson. Okay, next up, Shalala. Okay, next up, Talia. And then next up, China. Okay, awesome. Everyone put your hands down and then heads up. Awesome. So Shalala has won.
Could Shalala, Angela, and who else won last week?
Oh, does anyone know who won last week? Grace.
Could Shalala, Angela, and Grace come up to accept your prizes? I love how you're coming in your sweat.
Okay, next up we have public input period. Is there any input from members of the public? Okay. Next up, do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? We have now ended the meeting.
Thank you.
That was so good. What can I say? I am very